Well, right now we're heading to one of my favorite places. If you need to check into a place and get away, head to the American Club in Kohler. They've got a bunch of, well, of course they've got the spa, several wonderful world-class restaurants, but you know, when I always go there, I used to stop in the Horse and Plow, one of their more, their more casual restaurants, and I always get a big bowl of beer cheese soup. It's some of the best beer cheese soup I've ever tasted, and their executive chef there, Chef Ulrich Koberstein, is going to show us how they make it. Take a look.
Right. What we're going to be doing today, Amy, is probably one of our most requested recipes. This is the original 3-cheese and beer soup that we do in the Horse and Plow. And if I get one telephone call a day, it's probably more like 7 or 8 or 10, if not more. And every time this kind of comes up in a show, people call up straight away and go, can we have the recipe? So you know what, we're going to go one better today. Let's show you how to make your own. And it's really pretty simple. The ingredients that we have are all ready together, and again, just getting everything out and putting it into your kitchen, having it in front of you, just makes the whole task of cooking in your kitchen so much easier. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a roux. Now a roux is just a mix of butter and flour. So really it's equal quantities of flour and butter. So we're going to eyeball this. I've got half a cup here of flour, and I'm going to take a nice big dollop of butter here, put that into the pan, and we're going to let that melt. And basically what, again, it's old traditional classical French cuisine. So your roux and your flour combined are going to be the part that when we add it into the milk that we have here, which is the base for the cheese soup, is going to thicken it up. We'll let the butter melt here. You can see it's coming up to a nice froth, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Let that melt, and then add some of that flour to it. There we go. And just basically let that all incorporate into the flour. In the meantime, while this is come up to temperature, we're going to add some of our flavor components. I've got some Worcestershire sauce here. I'm going to put some of that into that. I've also got a chicken base. Now, we make this soup one of two ways. It can be either a vegetarian dish, or we can make it with chicken stock. I know it's very hard for people at home to make their own chicken stock, so you know what, you can use a chicken base as well. So I'm going to put that in there, and really what all that's going to do for us is create a little bit more flavor and complexity into this dish. A little bit of Tabasco, so again, depending on how hot you like something, add more or add less. We'll add a medium amount to it. A little bit of heat is good. And then just slowly stir that all in together. Make sure that the chicken base, if you're using chicken base, has been incorporated into the milk mixture. At this point now, I'm going to take some beer, and again, use good Wisconsin beer, a dark beer, your traditional bottle opener, which in this case is just a tong. Many different applications in a kitchen. We're going to add the beer to it. Gently pour that in, and you'll see that the milk mixture starts to take on a little bit more of the color of the beer, and froths up very nicely as well. And you can actually smell that beer. And the beer is an important part to the soup, because again, beer and cheese work so well together, and you will just get a little bit of that flavor and aroma of the beer coming through in your soup, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Some flavor components that we're going to add as well. We've got some garlic powder, and we've got some onion powder. Now, you don't have to use the powders at home if you want to. You can use this with fresh garlic and with fresh onion. But what you would need to do if you wanted a nice silky smooth soup is just put it through a china cap, or what we call in the kitchen a chinois. I've got some heavy cream here. I'm going to add a little bit of the heavy cream to the mix as well. It's just going to make it a little more rich. There we go. Make sure, again, all the little lumps are out. If you do land up with lumps or little particles in here at any time, you can, again, put it through the chinois, which is just a sieve, and it'll take out all the little particles if you have lumps in. You can see here the roux is becoming very sandy. It's become a little bit darker in color. It's still what I would call a blonde roux at this time, and that's basically what we're looking for. So I'm going to add some of the roux into the mix. Again, there's two ways of doing this. You could now either add your liquid into the roux or add the roux into the liquid. But I think for the person at home who's making this, it's probably easier to add the roux into the liquid. And you add that in little stages, because we're looking for the right consistency and texture. And that's just going to be, like I said, we're not making a sauce out of this, we're making a soup out of this. So we do want this to thicken a little bit, bearing in mind at the end of this process, we are going to add cheese to it again as well, and the cheese is going to make it thicker. And again, just slowly letting this all incorporate, mix in together. And this needs to cook out now for approximately 10 to 15 minutes. So keep stirring it from time to time. You don't want the bottom of the milk and all the roux in here to start catching on the bottom of your pan. That burnt flavor will come through very quickly. So turn it on to a gentle simmer, keep stirring it, and let this cook out for about 10 minutes or so, coming back every few minutes to check it just to make sure that the consistency is where you want it to be. You can see the color has changed a little bit too as it takes on some of that flour. It's just gently coming up to a boil. We don't want it to boil, so it's just a very, very gentle simmer. It looks rich, it looks delicious, and we've got 3 cheeses that we're going to add into the soup mix here. I've got some pepper jack cheese. Again, you want to add this a little at a time because you want it to incorporate into the mix. So I'm going to add about a third of the amount of the cheese there. I've got some provolone cheese here as well. You can use whichever 3 cheeses you like. And I've got some cheddar cheese as well. And we're going to add some of the cheddar cheese to the mix. And again, every time before you add more to it, just make sure that you stir all that lovely cheese mix into it. And it is going to thicken a little bit more now as we go as well, which is again an important thing to remember when we're looking for the consistency of the soup. You can see the cheese is starting to melt into the mixture. It melts really, really quickly. And we'll go back again, more of the pepper jack mix going in. There we go. Stir that in completely. Make sure that it's all nicely dissolved into the mixture. And this is so warm now that even as you're adding the cold cheese mix into the hot soupy mix, it just gets taken up and melted right away. You're not really losing any of that precious heat that you want. Now you want this to cook again for approximately another 5 to 10 minutes. Again, stirring it continuously, making sure that you don't have any lumps in it. At that point then, taste it. It's always important to taste our soup as we go. That's good. It needs probably a little bit more salt. Add just a touch of salt to this dish. And we're going to allow more of that cheese to melt. And here we have it, our famous beer and cheese soup. We'll just finish that with some chives. You can finish it with some croutons if you like, as we do in the Horse and Plow. Make this at home for yourself, and if it looks like it's too much work, come to the Horse and Plow and enjoy it. It's always on the menu. We'll never take it off. Bon appetit.